Nós estamos no meio de uma crise no Afeganistão. 15 de agosto ficou marcado exatamente pela tomada ali do Talibã,
Cabul.
em Cabul, na capital, tirando o governo atual de cena. O que os cristãos podem fazer então no meio dessa crise? E até pensando em missões, como melhor orar por esses irmãos, os cristãos que estão lá, às vezes os missionários que estão lá. Deveríamos orar por coragem para eles ficarem ali ou para saírem o quanto antes?
Yeah. It's heartbreaking to think about our brothers and sisters that are experiencing such tremendous pressure, persecution, and suffering. As I've thought about this question, I think there's several things that we can do and must do, actually. We must do. Not just we should do, but yeah. First is I think we need to lament. I think the Bible has given us a wonderful category that we don't think enough about, which is to lament the reality of the difficulties of our life. And, the Psalms are full of prayers and songs in which faithful Christians like David lamented over the fact that there is still evil in this world. And so we cry out to God and weep with those who weep. And so we cry out to God on behalf of our brothers and sisters who are suffering in this present evil age. But it's not just a cry, because the lament is more than just complaining, right? And I mean, when I say complain, I want to be careful. It's a complaint based upon an understanding of God's sovereignty and goodness. We have the promises of God that he is in control of everything. But he's not only in control and powerful, but he's also purposeful in his goodness. So even though it's hard to see God's control and goodness in this, we have to trust that even in this difficulty, God is in control. Now that comes more home to us when we face, persecution and suffering in our own lives. But here's an opportunity for us to get out of ourselves and say, we have brothers and sisters in a place like Afghanistan that are really struggling. And so we want to cry out to God on their behalf. We need to lament for them. We need to cry out to God for them and ask for relief, ask for peace, ask for safety, ask for etc. And then finally, in that lament, as we lament, we cry out to God, recognizing the challenges. We ask for his intervention, but we also pray in trust with thanksgiving. Say, yet, Lord, I will continue to trust in you. And that would be the prayer that I think we need to give. So we need to lament with our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. I think another thing we can do is it gives us an opportunity to learn more. Not only to lament, but also to learn. I think for many people, they're like, where's Afghanistan? What's going on in Afghanistan? And how do I learn more? I mean, that's actually a good part of being global Christians, is to learn what's happening in the church in Afghanistan. Because the more we learn, the more we can lament and then go to the third, which is to love. And so we lament with our brothers and sisters, we lament for them, we learn more about their situation so we can pray more specifically and intelligently about that, and then help other Christians learn. Third, we also love. And I think by loving them, we actually, of course, we're praying for them, but we're trying to support them through the ways that we can, through giving. If there's networks of pastors and churches that are connected to our churches, we need to somehow support them and give to them. I think that's another thing we can do, is to love them. And then speaking of missions, I think this is an opportunity to leverage. So I get these words from my good friend Mark Vrogop in his book on lament, but we have to lament, we have to learn, we have to love by giving and supporting the work there in Afghanistan. Then leverage. What do I mean by leverage? Is actually maybe God is calling some of us to go ourselves to help, and maybe to receive some of the refugees in our churches and in our homes. As people are fleeing places like Afghanistan, are we going to welcome them into our homes and in our churches? Are we going to go ourselves to maybe surrounding countries to help receive them and help them transition to new lives and to new worlds? And so I would say, as Christians, this is something we can do. We can lament, we can learn, we can love, and we can leverage our resources to do something ourselves if God is calling us to do that.
Mhm.
Specifically, you talked about specifically how do we pray? Do we pray that they would flee? Do we pray that they would be strong? I would say yes. Depending upon the circumstances, the Lord knows. There are some that must flee because that's the best, that's the wisest thing for them and their families, and for the future of the church, especially for some of these church leaders. But for some of them, it may mean being martyred for the faith, like Christians have for thousands of years. And while that's an incredibly sad prospect, people who are martyred for their faith do not die in vain. But as Tertullian said, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And so we have to believe that even in persecution like this, God can grow something beautiful. I believe that. I believe even this pandemic that we're facing right now, I don't think it's an accident that this pandemic is encompassing the whole globe. I really think it's an opportunity. It's like a wake-up call for the church to say, where are you telling people to place their hope? In medicine? In politics? Because medicine and politics ultimately cannot save them. Maybe temporarily, but eternally, where is your only hope? And so it's an opportunity for the church to go back and to say, friends, let's once you strip everything away, take everything away, what's the most important thing is your eternal destiny. It's your soul. And do you have an answer for where your soul is? And it's an opportunity for us to share the beauty of Jesus once again to the world. So I think even in a situation like Afghanistan or the pandemic, it's an opportunity for the church to rise and say, here's Jesus, the answer for our souls and the answers for our suffering. Yeah, so those are just some thoughts that I have regarding the situation in Afghanistan.